Did you know there's a strip of land so narrow you can stand on it and see two oceans at the same time? A place where a canal cut in 1914 still decides how much a bag of coffee costs in Ohio? Its jungles pack more species into a single square mile than almost anywhere on the planet, and 3 million years ago, it didn't even exist. It was open water. This is Central America, and most of what you think you know about it is wrong, because it isn't really 7 small countries stapled together. It's the bridge that rewired the planet. Central America is not a leftover margin between 2 real continents. It is a planetary hinge that rerouted ocean currents, helped trigger an ice age, and enabled the largest cross-continental animal migration in Earth's history. And over the next 25 entries, we're counting down the facts that prove it, ranging from deep-time geology and vanished civilizations to modern disaster zones and species densities that dwarf entire continents. Each one earned its rank by how dramatically it reshapes what you thought this region was. Some will surprise you, others will unsettle you, and the number 1 entry is one most people have never heard told this way. So let's begin at number 25, with the single image that sets the scale for everything that follows. A place so thin that one pair of eyes can hold 2 oceans in a single glance. In 25th place, a mere 30 miles of land separates the 2 largest oceans on Earth. At its narrowest stretch, between the Nergala and Chepo rivers, the Isthmus of Panama contracts into a fragile physical bottleneck. This extreme geological compression creates a rare optical phenomenon at the summit of Volcan Baru. On a clear morning, from this single volcanic peak, the human eye can scan both the Caribbean and the Pacific horizons simultaneously. Most maps make you think Central America is a broad continental edge, but the reality is a land strip so narrow that one hilltop can look out on both seas. In 24th place, a colossal tectonic collision drives the ground beneath this narrow land bridge to shift by up to 81 millimeters every single year. This rapid motion is fueled by 3 massive tectonic plates, the Cocos, the Caribbean, and the North American, colliding in a violent 3-way struggle. The constant grinding produces frequent high-magnitude earthquakes, proving that this strip of land is not a finished geographic feature, but the active edge of a moving system. While we easily assume Central America is ordinary, stable terrain, the reality is a restless fault line in constant motion. In 23rd place, 70 active volcanoes are packed into a narrow 1,500-kilometer corridor. This hyperdense belt, known as the Central American Volcanic Arc, is the direct surface result of the grinding tectonic engine below, fueled by the Pacific Ring of Fire where plates collide. Most maps make you think active volcanoes are scattered evenly across the planet, but the reality is a tight, incredibly dangerous chain of volcanic fire compressed into a tiny strip of land where millions of people live directly in the hazard zone. In 22nd place, a nearly 19,000-mile highway spans almost 2 entire continents, except for one critical break. The Pan-American Highway stretches from Alaska to Argentina, representing the longest motorable road system on Earth. Yet, this massive artery of concrete and asphalt abruptly terminates at the Darien Gap, where 60 miles of dense roadless jungle and swamp resist any connection. People assume a single continuous highway links the Americas end to end, but the reality is that the physical terrain of Central America retains a complete geographic block, halting human ambition in its tracks. In 21st place, a tiny territory packs 5% of all known species on Earth into just 0.03% of the planet's land surface. This extreme biological concentration is found in Costa Rica, where a narrow land corridor, varied elevations, and overlapping microclimates create a dense sanctuary for life. Species from 2 massive continents converge here, resulting in a remarkable density of plants and animals. People assume that a small nation has limited ecological importance, But the reality is that this narrow strip of land acts as one of the most powerful biological reservoirs on Earth. In 20th place, a single narrow strip of land hosts over 1,500 recorded bird species, far surpassing the combined total of the United States and Canada. This immense avian concentration thrives because Central America acts as a massive bottleneck, stacking Pacific and Caribbean coastlines, high-altitude volcanic forests, and tropical valleys directly into the path of global migration routes. People assume that massive, continent-sized nations naturally hold the greatest variety of life. The reality is that geographic scale is an illusion, and this tiny land bridge easily outmatches entire continents in sheer avian diversity. In 19th place, a single apex predator roams a continuous habitat corridor spanning over 2,000 miles across 8 different nations. This massive network exists because the narrow Central American land bridge preserves a vital, high-density jungle pathway. Jaguars rely on this continuous geographic strip to travel from northern Mexico all the way to the Colombian border, maintaining genetic flow across highly diverse ecosystems. People assume Central America's intense development has fragmented its wild spaces into isolated, disconnected pockets. The reality is a highly coordinated predator route that still spans the entire length of the land bridge, functioning as a fully active living corridor. In 18th place, a sprawling ancient network of cities supported up to 16 million people across the lowlands, with capitals like Tikal rivaling the metropolitan scale of historical European centers. Yet, by the year 900, these stone metropolises lay completely silent, abandoned during a rapid regional unraveling driven by drought, deforestation, and warfare. People assumed the Maya simply vanished into thin air, leaving their empty cities behind. The reality is that the population never disappeared. Millions of their descendants still inhabit these same lands today, while it was only their overextended political and agricultural systems that fractured. In 17th place, jade from a single Guatemalan valley traveled over 700 miles to reach elite graves in Costa Rica. This extensive movement of precious jade and gold across the Isthmus relied entirely on river networks, coastal ports, and steep footpaths. Ancient merchants navigated these treacherous routes without beasts of burden, paved roads, or the wheel. People assume the rugged mountains and dense rainforests isolated ancient societies into completely disconnected worlds. The reality is that this narrow strip of land functioned as a highly active trade corridor, linking distinct cultures long before European contact. In 16th place, 2 giant ocean basins, the Atlantic and the Pacific, converge their atmospheric force on a strip of land only 30 miles wide. Because Central America lacks a wide continental buffer, its towering mountain peaks are directly exposed to dual ocean weather systems. A single storm season can batter the isthmus from both sides, as tropical depressions from both the Caribbean and the Pacific slam into the high volcanic ridges. People assume that regional hurricane risks emerge from only one ocean. The reality is a thin land bridge physically squeezed between 2 immense, independent storm engines. In 15th place, over 5,000 millimeters of rain drench a single coastline every year. Along the Mosquito Coast of Nicaragua and Honduras, trade winds dump relentless moisture against the mountains, turning wetness from a temporary weather event into a permanent structural force that oversaturates the soil and perpetually floods the rivers. People assume tropical coasts are simply green, pleasant paradises. The reality is that this extreme, non-stop deluge dominates the terrain, rendering it nearly uninhabitable and actively reshaping the physical landscape. Quick pause. Which fact in this countdown has surprised you most so far? Drop it in the comments. In 14th place, a massive deep-water gateway once split the entire Western Hemisphere, leaving a 5,000-mile gap of open ocean between 2 isolated worlds. Before 3 million years ago, North and South America did not share a single foot of dry land. Instead, deep ocean currents flowed freely between the Atlantic and Pacific, keeping the continents completely separated. Most maps make you think the Americas were always linked, which hides how late this bridge arrived in Earth history. The reality is that this physical connection is surprisingly recent, and for most of geological time, the two continents were entirely distinct landmasses. In 13th place, a 50-mile barrier of rock altered ocean currents across 90 million square miles of the Atlantic. When the Isthmus closed 3 million years ago, it cut off the Pacific to Atlantic freshwater flow. This restriction raised Atlantic salinity and accelerated the Gulf Stream, carrying warm, salty water northward to fuel the atmospheric moisture required to build continental glaciers. People assume that global ice ages are triggered solely by distant astronomical shifts in Earth's orbit. The reality is that the glacial freeze of the northern hemisphere may have been switched on by a tiny tropical land bridge, redirecting the highways of the ocean. In 12th place, a newly formed land connection ignited a hemisphere-wide reshuffling of life across millions of square miles. The closure of the Isthmus of Panama allowed animals to travel between North and South America for the first time in tens of millions of years, an event known as the Great American Biotic Interchange. Armadillos and opossums marched north, while jaguars and bears migrated south, transforming the ecology of both continents. People assume that the wildlife of the Americas evolved in complete isolation from one another. The reality is that this narrow tropical bridge functioned as a massive corridor, permanently mixing the biology of two different worlds. In 11th place, 6 distinct families of mammals embarked on a massive crossing that completely altered the food webs of two continents. Armadillos, opossums, and porcupines marched northward, while ancient horses, wildcats, and bears migrated south, forcing unfamiliar predators and prey into direct competition. Most maps make you think only a slow, minor trickle of species crossed this narrow strip of land, minimizing its ecological impact. The reality is a violent, hemisphere-wide wildlife reshuffle that permanently reorganized the biology of both continents, transforming them into the ecosystems we recognize today. In 10th place, a freshwater lake high above sea level hosts an active population of ocean predators. For decades, scientists finding massive bull sharks swimming in the landlocked waters of Lake Nicaragua believed they had discovered an entirely separate, landlocked species. However, migration tracking proved these sharks were actually ocean-dwelling animals, climbing the turbulent rapids of the San Juan River, leaping like salmon to reach the basin. People assume a massive inland lake is ecologically sealed off from the sea, but the reality is an open highway for marine predators reaching deep into the continental interior. In 9th place, a single freshwater lake holds an island of 276 square kilometers, formed entirely by 2 towering volcanic cones. Concepcion and Madeiras rise straight out of Lake Nicaragua, their lower slopes submerged in fresh water, while their peaks are linked by a narrow corridor of ash and lava. Concepcion still vents steam and ash over the water, while the dormant Madeiras contains a cold crater lagoon at its summit. People assume inland freshwater lakes are quiet, stable basins sheltered from tectonic violence. The reality is an active volcanic landscape surging directly from the lakebed, proving the region's fiery geology ignores the shoreline. In 8th place, more than 25,000 workers died carving a 51-mile canal through the narrow isthmus. During the French and American construction campaigns, labor forces faced an invisible onslaught of yellow fever and malaria. Because the mechanics of mosquito transmission were not yet understood, the swampy excavation trenches became massive incubators for disease, turning an engineering project into a brutal public health battleground. People assume the Panama Canal was a triumph of steel, steam, and concrete locks. The reality is that this global shortcut was bought with immense human sacrifice, succeeding only after a desperate sanitary campaign subdued the tropical wilderness. Number 7. A tiny 51-mile ribbon of water controls roughly 6% of all global maritime trade. This narrow cut through the isthmus functions as a supreme economic bottleneck, where minor fluctuations in transit capacity immediately disrupt global shipping lanes, inflate fuel expenditures, and alter the retail cost of daily goods thousands of miles away. People assume that massive oceanic expanses dictate the flow of global commerce. The reality is that this single, short canal holds the power to reshape international trade networks and dictate the prices on supermarket shelves across the globe. Number 6. Over 10% of the global coffee supply relies on farms planted directly on the slopes of active peaks. This massive agricultural output is made possible by relentless volcanic eruptions, which blanket the mountainsides in mineral-rich ash. Over time, weathering breaks down this debris into extremely fertile earth packed with essential nutrients that coffee plants need to thrive. People assume that hazardous volcanic zones and productive agricultural lands are entirely separate regions. The reality is that the exact same tectonic forces that threaten communities with destruction also generate the soil chemistry that keeps their economies alive. Number 5. 36 inches of rain fell in just 24 hours when a single storm system ground to a complete halt over Honduras and Nicaragua. In 1998, Hurricane Mitch stalled over the region for days. The storm's massive moisture payload collided with the compressed volcanic mountains, dumping years' worth of water onto steep slopes. This sudden deluge completely oversaturated the soil, triggering massive mudslides that buried entire towns. People assume hurricanes are fast-moving tropical systems that briefly batter a coastline before moving on. The reality is that Central America's vertical geography can trap these storms, turning slow-moving weather patterns into permanent agents of physical destruction that rewrite the terrain. Number 4. 50 distinct Honduran communities vanished entirely from the National Registry after the ground beneath them liquefied. Relentless rains saturated the steep volcanic clay, triggering massive mudslides that buried entire villages under 20 feet of debris. People assume that displaced populations eventually return to rebuild their ancestral homes. The reality is that Mitch permanently altered the geography of human settlement, rendering these locations so physically unstable that they were declared completely uninhabitable, erasing these historic towns from the map forever. Number 3. Over 300,000 people attempted to cross the roadless Darien Gap on foot in a single year, turning this dense jungle into one of the most active human corridors on Earth. Without a single mile of paved highway, travelers must navigate wild rivers, steep cliffs, deep mud, and suffocating heat just to survive. People assume that the primary challenge of this crossing is navigating political borders and security checkpoints. The reality is that the physical landscape itself remains the first and most relentless threat, actively trapping and defeating human movement, just as it has blocked continental infrastructure for decades. In second place, 81 millimeters of annual crustal movement proves the physical foundation of this land bridge is far from finished. The Cocos Plate continuously slides beneath the Caribbean Plate, forcing magma upward and grinding tectonic boundaries together. This endless geological struggle triggers frequent, high-magnitude earthquakes and feeds 70 active volcanic vents along the central arc, keeping the entire terrain in violent motion. People assume the formation of this land bridge was a completed chapter of prehistoric geology. The reality is that the Isthmus remains an active construction site, with the ground still being made today. And finally, in first place, 11,374 documented lives were lost in a single week of environmental catastrophe. When Hurricane Mitch stalled over the region, the unrelenting deluge liquefied volcanic mountainsides, sending millions of tons of mud rushing down onto the valleys. The entire town of Pozo Ortega was virtually erased when the slopes of the Casita volcano collapsed, burying thousands of residents under 20 feet of liquid earth. Emergency responders found the ground turned completely flat, with no visible signs of the community that had existed hours before. People assume Central America is primarily a scenic tropical paradise or a strategic economic corridor built for global trade. But the reality is that the exact same narrow land bridge that shaped global currents and connected two continents remains one of the most vulnerable zones on Earth, where geology itself can turn into an agent of absolute human loss. Across these entries, a singular truth emerges. Central America is not a passive land margin, but a vital planetary hinge. While we often view it as a fragile corridor, it actually dictates global climate, ocean currents, and the flow of life itself. It remains an engine of immense ecological power and constant physical danger. Subscribe for more deep dive documentaries.